Is there animal sacrifice in the Vedas? We will talk about this in this little discourse. The tradition used to be that the Kshatriyas would do Rajasuya, Vaishyas would do Havan, Brahmana would do Mantra, and Sudra would to serve. The Kshatriya were powerful and virtuous, and they had long arms, they were handsome, they lived long, even up to 85,000 years in Treta Yuga. And they protected innocent beings who were under them. So throughout the period, enlightenment was passed on, such as, quote, the kind Brahmana should enlighten the Kshatriya and they should educate the Vaishya who should lovingly mold up the Sudra in duties. This caring and molding seem to have gone to pick cotton because it seems like knowledge is hidden from the lower folks and they are made to work for nothing. There is no more Kshatriya in this age. Matsya Purana, chapter L11. Where did the animal sacrifice originate? Because we see it has become a part of Islam and the old Bible. For instance, the Nepali buffalo slaughter, the Kali Puja in India. Even human sacrifice is mentioned in some scripture. If it is not checked, I think people will use it as an excuse to do a lot of harm on this planet. But according to the Matsya Purana, Indra was the first to propagate animal sacrifice at the beginning of the Treta Yuga. Indra is known to be lusty and a warrior, Rajaguna. He started to collect ingredients and nice animals. Actually, the devas presiding over the senses were included in those who would accept the offering of animals. They are born at the beginning of the Kalpa. So when the great rishis saw what Indra was doing, they felt pity and said, it is sinful to destroy life and cause pain. You have started this sin and it only begets more sins. Killing animals is not dharma, it is adharma. But the haughty Indra did not listen to the counsel of the rishis. So they began to discuss the matter with him, and Vasu was called to give his opinion. Vasu said, the Vedas say that good animals and roots should be sacrificed. Even in the mantras, animals are mentioned. I give my opinion using that as a proof. At that, the sages cursed him to fall down to Rasatala for giving his own opinion. They said, it is not wise that one individual should give one decided opinion because the analysis of dharma is extremely delicate and difficult to express and hard to be known. Only the devas, rishis, and manu know dharma for certain. Sutta has said in the Matsya Purana, what the rishis say about non-killing is the best course. They themselves never harm, and many of them have gone to heaven just by penance. These sages never praise himsa, and they have gone to heaven, the same place that those who do sacrifices go. They have practiced non-greed, non-attachment, celibacy, compassion, cleanliness, peace, forgiveness, and so on. These are the roots of dharma. Their sacrifice is mantra. Their tapa is sarma darshana. Their asceticism leads to the purusha. Their knowledge leads to Kevala. Their renunciation leads to returning to the Prakriti. Long ago, the Devas and Rishis had argued over animal sacrifice, but the Devas were determined to do as they wish. But, check this, asceticism and tapasya are the higher sacrifice. The Devas have many times even challenged Krishna. King Ashoka rejected the slaughter of people in war. Buddha has rejected anything to do with it because it is sinful according to the rishis. Animal sacrifice today is due to the old idea by Indra. It is not supported by the rishis who know spiritual truth. So it seems to have come down in the Vedas, but the truth is, even the Vedas have become unrecognizable. Animal killing is undue violence. Let's say for argument that the Vedas support it. Still bear in mind the rishis were against it. For ages, sacrifice have been performed by adharyus. Quote, the rhinos without horns if sacrificed at Prayag is highly enjoyed by the ancestors. In his book Scriptural Prohibitions on Meat Eating, Haridas Shastriji has said that dharma is supreme and ahimsa belongs to the supreme dharma. Manusmriti 1069, Padma Purana 4:24-3 says, himsa is not dharma. Kapila mentions it to Devahuti, SB 3:28-4. It is also stated in Patanjali Yoga Sutra 230. The Hitopadesh says that people go to hell who violate even ferocious animals. The Mahabharata throughout says ahimsa practitioners go to heaven. Jaimini has said that the Shruti that supports it has been lost with time. Even Jaimini, who has written the Mimamsa Sutra, he said that those Shruti has been lost with time, even though the priests insist that the procedures for killing animals are clear in Shrauta. So it is one word against the other word, just like in the old days. And Lord Krishna himself has condemned it in the Bhagavata. There's a book called No Beef in the Vedas, which has more arguments. One is supposed to be learned in Nyaya and Mimamsa to interpret Sastra. A lot of Sastra is written in symbolism. Not even the Devas can interpret it properly. The idea that Kshatriya must eat meat to fight can be defeated by evidence today. Many vegans and vegetarians are sports people and bodybuilders, so it's apparently somebody's taste bud for meat is behind that mischief. Lord Matsya is the first incarnation of Vishnu. His Purana is a narration between Sutta and the sages. He said that in Dwapara Yuga, people had already lost siddhis, and greed, trade, and warring became prominent. Raja and Tamma were taken over. Dharma began to wane and disappear in Kali Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, Dharma becomes extinct, and doubts are raised in interpreting the Shrutis and Smritis. Tamma and Raja were already influencing people in Treta when the saints had separated themselves from the Adharyus. When the Vedas became divided at the end of Dwapara, the Rishi's sons interpreted them in faulty ways. They put the Brahmana portion inside the Samhita and they changed the tones of the songs. due to the misunderstanding and corruption of the Kalpa Sutras of the Bhasyas, those various rites and customs began. So that's another reason why animal slaughter was inserted in the Vedas, because those Brahmana, those Rishi's son interpreted them in a bad way. Okay, the Vedas are not the same as it was. The Sama and Atharva were turned and twisted due to want of confidence in the Munis. Back then it had already been twisted, and in Kali Yuga it is mostly extinct. Those diseases and disorders became visible, and people become taken up with worldly things. Some ended up disowning the Vedas. Ayurveda and other limbs of it became filled with doubt. The Varanas were becoming destroyed, and lust and anger increased. But still, people were living up to 2,000 years in Treta Yuga. In Kali Yuga, 100 years is the maximum lifespan. Matsya Purana, CX, L1V. Things got worse in Dwarapa, and Kali Yuga is brutal. Brahmana, Kshatriya, and mostly Vaishya are extinct. It means that they are unable to follow duties. Laws are made to suit the lawmakers. The lower rung of society is not lovingly molded up, quotes. Money in the amount of 450 million USD is spent to erect a statue of unity in Bharat, where people can't even afford house and food. The film and music industry is dominated by Brahmana and Kshatriya and Muslim. Not even Islamic countries are so degraded. Sannyasis wearing red and kapalas find fault with the Vedas, or what is left of it. Many call themselves Brahmagyanis to make a living. Hypocrites will mark their bodies with Vedic symbols. Unqualified people will claim to study the Vedas and do sacrifice, and there will be many false religions. All of this is written in Matsya Purana for those who need to know more. But it is said at the end of Kali, people will get some vairagya, and these good people will take birth in Satya Yuga. People should not wait around for that, though it is a far way off. So back to Ahimsa, there is a symbolic way to understand scripture, like Durga killing the Mahisasura with 10 arms. It means the mode of goodness is trampling on the mode of ignorance. The 10 arms means the 10 senses and organs. It is not animal slaughter. We need to stop the literal interpretation. It's crazy. Ashvamedha means horse sacrifice, but it also means cloud sacrifice, a rite which glorifies the moisture-laden winds and worships Lord Hayagriva. Gomedha can also mean body senses that light up like lightning. Go means sense organs. Go means the solar system. Making the bodily senses brilliant is called Gomedha Yajna. Naramedha Yajna put an end to birth and death and is conducted for good progeny. The offering of a medical herb shaped like a human being is done in this rite, although sick humans have in the past offered humans in sacrifice. There is an Indra Yajna to get rain. The Brahma Yajna make ones attractive. God has come as Buddha and stopped animal sacrifice. People have not lost their taste for it, and they now eat meat without the sacrifice. Lord Sesha came as Ramanujacharya and stopped it and established Ahimsa, and based on sacrifice of forms of animals in powder. More evidence against animal sacrifice. We will examine common terminology used to justify animal sacrifice. Mahimsa sarva bhutani, do not violate any entity, but Agni Sambhayam Pasum Alabhet. Animal is a cat. These are two opposing ideas found in the Shrutis, but as we had said, the scripture is not literal. The Mimamsa Sastra explains the real meaning. Ato masana metan matre vidhina kritan pitarakshena tripyanti sadhavan kulvanti na tadvina. The Kritya has made masana raw rice in place of the creator has made masana raw rice in place of meat. When the Shruti talk about animals, one needs to know it is masana. Ato masana me tan matre. So what is the masana? The masana is raw rice. The Vedas use the word alambhana for sacrifice, which means trimming an object, which you really cannot do. You really cannot trim an animal. So the word that the Vedas use is alambhana, but you cannot trim an animal. One may refer to the book Kavya Kastubha to understand semantics. The book is published by Haridas Shastri Press, and one can study the akshana vritti. The root of the word in alambhana means to kill, but it can also mean to destroy or make no more. It doesn't necessarily mean violence. Alambhana can mean to destroy or to make no more. But that is another word that has been used for sacrifice. Now the word dulabhas, if you study Panini grammar, means the cause of getting. Dulabhas. You'll find the language used in many grammar books, Samhita and Bhasyas. Panini's grammar. The word alabha is used to mean getting or touching sometimes for sprinkling water. So we are talking about the word dulabhas. Dulabhas, and it says that word come from alabha, to get or to touch or to sprinkle water. That is another word that they had been using for sacrifice. Now the other word is surabi tanaya. Surabi tanaya, it means cows. Alambhanam, to sprinkle. Tato jatam, to be delivered. Bhuvi, earth. Sruto murtya, a form of stream. Parinatam, transform. This is the interpretation of the Sanskrit poet Kalidas in his Meghadutam, meaning that the water that sprinkles the cows has become rivers on earth. He was also convinced that there is no cow killing in the Vedas. But the best argument was when Chaitanya was told that there was. He replied that it was a very old practice to help sick cows and give them a new body, and only powerful priests had the power to do it. That was his excuse or explanation. The Mahabharata continues to argue against animal violence, and sages like Yajnavalkya. Please refer to the book Scriptural Prohibitions Against Meat Eating, printed by the Haridas Shastri Press, because there's a lot more evidence to be uncovered. Apparently, God appreciates the animal forms even much more better than human. He has appeared several times as an animal, a tortoise, boar, lionfish, and Lord Ananta, who is a snake. He has armies of monkeys, and of course, Surabi was born from the body of Krishna. All species have the same creator as the progenitor, making them brothers and sisters. But the conscience of man is sometimes more powerful evidence than scripture, in the form of the large vegetarian movement and animal rights groups protesting all kinds of animal abuse. We have mentioned that God lives inside the beings as Paramatma and sometimes guides them to do something for him. While in India, meat is becoming common for some reason, maybe due to a lack of good food, tamaguna, really. In the West, the industry has taken a hard blow. Substitute products are growing in demand as people become more ahimsa. Due to the times, I suppose. Things are not all bad. There's a conscience, and we have talked about the fact that there will be good people inclined to vairagya who will evolve and populate the earth in Satya Yuga. Going ahead with full faith, we will continue to explore the possibilities of bhakti in this age.